So people, here we are. You already know what it is, in the streets of Belfast, and I'll be putting this out. It'll be Halloween when you're watching this, and I'm gonna try and connect some dots today, ask people some questions maybe about what's their greatest fears, what's their favourite horror movie, stuff like that, and basically from that draw a connection to the suffering that happens with animals in the industry. And hopefully enlighten people to the suffering that they're paying for and encourage them to live a more compassionate, cruelty-free life. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Are you guys fans of scary movies, or?
A bit. I have nothing else better to do. I'll sit and watch one for a while, but not really.
Yeah. I would watch Halloween movies, yeah.
So Halloween, would you say that you're fans of Halloween?
Yeah.
Time of year? And that sort of thing?
I love Halloween.
Yeah.
Out of Christmas and Halloween will probably win.
Yeah.
Only because it's kind of like seeing people in all these costumes. It's interesting. Like, it's interesting what people come up with. Really creative.
Yeah. Are you fans of like horror movies? Do you like scary movies?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We love a bit of Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Okay, so Halloween, right? Do you like scary movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it about scary movies that you like?
I don't like them.
Whoever said that they do, what is it about scary movies that you like?
They've got like a really good plot line most of the time.
Do you not think the plot line's a bit repetitive and predictable?
Yeah. Yeah, but they've got like a sort of like a different like kind of thing to it every time.
Oh, stay with me, folks, stay with me. We get a kick out of seeing scary things, right? But if that was a real thing and it was really happening to us, it would be terrifying, and you wouldn't want that to happen.
No.
So I'm going to go in a slightly different direction, but it's connected. The Halloween thing's sort of like an opener to get us in this sort of sphere of the subject that I'm moving into. And what I'm really wanting to talk about is the fear and the suffering that we actually inflict on others for what we eat. So I'm an animal rights activist, and I'm trying to make people more conscious of their purchases and the reality of when we buy animal products, whatever it may be. We're paying to put animals in slaughterhouses. We're paying to put these gentle, innocent, vulnerable creatures, confine them on a truck, send them to a slaughterhouse. Someone forces them off the truck. They're often electrocuted, gassed, shot in the head. Then their throats are slit, and they're chopped up into pieces, wrapped in plastic, etc., marketed, sold, and consumed, and flushed down a toilet. So, would you think, like, as an animal that's bred on this planet to be consumed, they would have a terrifying experience, like similar to the violence that we would see in horror movies?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be an animal and be slaughtered.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Being dragged away.
Well,
where I'm going with this is like the violence in those movies. Is there any sort of aspects of the horror movies that you find like, oh well, I wouldn't want that to happen to me, or that would be my worst nightmare, or like anything specific in your head popping out, certain scenes, certain ways that people are killed?
Definitely popping in my head. Nightmare on Elm Street, the big arms.
Yeah.
Oh, it always gets to me. It scared me the first time I saw it.
Traumatizing, yeah.
Yeah, really traumatizing.
What about you?
Well, when you see in some of them, I don't know, it's just drowning. Like if you get drowned in like, because I remember in one of the Halloweens he sets this girl's head in like.
Yes.
It's like
It's like boiling water.
Yeah, and he sets it in there.
I was watching something like that last night about Halloween.
Yeah, I hate to die like that.
Yeah. Awful way to go. I'm looking to raise awareness, basically, the ways in which like we as human beings inflict violence and suffering on animals for food.
Yeah.
So they end up in slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
And like, we watch scary movies and people get stabbed to death and chopped up into pieces and get their throats cut. And that's exactly what happens to animals in slaughterhouses.
a friend of mine is vegetarian, and they did see that.
Would you mind like coming a bit closer?
Yeah.
They're veggie, yeah.
They're veggie, but they're not vegan. They're just vegetarian. And they said when they saw that van to the slaughterhouse, that's what got them to become vegetarian. It wasn't just allergy; it was genuine. That
connection.
And to be honest myself, I don't like thinking about it because it makes me quite, a bit upset about it. I do like animals. I support animal rights. I would never rule out being vegetarian, but it would only be something personally like that there. If I saw like that happening, maybe I would turn off it completely.
Yeah. Good points. In what way would you say that you said that I support animal rights? What way do you mean that?
Well, I mean, I don't support like the way animals are used in circuses or anything like that. I don't think that's fair in them. I don't support animal abuse at all. Don't even tolerate it. Regardless of what animal it is, it's innocent. It's not there to be, thrown away. It's to be loved and cared for. I do know people who farm animals for meat, but I know that they're very well cared for right up to their end. It's not a nice process. Yeah. But in a way, people have to put bread on the table for their families and all. So there's that other side of the coin.
Yeah. A lot of good points there. Just want to say, you were saying, you don't support animal abuse. Have you thought about like the idea of like when you buy and eat animal products, you are supporting animal abuse?
Sometimes, and now sort of more as I think about it as I'm getting older, I'm sort of like at that sort of stage of I might become vegetarian, but I would never rule it out. In a way, though, I still like eating meat, so I sort of have that sort of side to it, but I don't eat meat as much as other people would. It's not really my main. It's mainly chocolate and all, and coffee, which is completely wrong. But
as you get older, you realise how much violence it goes into your meat and stuff like that.
Where I'm really going with this is I'm trying to raise awareness for the violence that we as human beings often inflict on animals for food, and they end up in slaughterhouses and at these places of ultra violence and bloodshed. And I just sort of think like Halloween's coming up, people watch horror movies, scary things happen, and sort of lead in with that and connect that to the aspect of, so you mentioned the drowning. One thing that came to my mind there is, maybe you don't know, I didn't know this, at one point in the egg industry, for example, male chicks on their first day of life, because the industry is based around eggs and selling eggs for money, the male chicks are of no profit. So 3 ways that they're legally allowed to kill those chicks is they gas them, they put them in a macerator, which is like an industrial blender, or they drown them. That's all legal, standard practice, most places in the world. So when we buy the likes of eggs, like that's what we're paying for. Dairy industry is sort of similar. The male calves in the dairy industry, because they'll never lay milk, like what do you think happens to them then?
Well, like I'd say it's probably the same thing though. To be fair, definitely like the industrial like grinders things. I'd say that definitely.
What it is, they shoot them 24 to 72 hours after birth, basically because they're never going to produce milk. So they can't make any money off them in the dairy industry. And then just standard like meat industry, those animals are like forced onto a truck, forced into a slaughterhouse. They're either shot, electrocuted or gassed, and then hung upside down and throat slit, chopped into pieces, and it's marketed to people, tasty hamburgers, blah blah blah.
That's vulgar.
It's really, have you ever thought about like meat in that way, animal flesh?
A lot. And it's kind of like whenever I go to eat a burger, I'm always thinking to myself, this is a cow that's been
Really?
it's been slaughtered, and I'm
How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel a bit guilty. Like it's
That's good, because I was like really unconscious. I used to eat animal products and stuff, and I was completely disconnected from the reality that it was an animal. I seen like a speech that woke me up, but that's good that you have signs of like awareness and you're thinking about it, and you're actually at that point where you're like, you said you're feeling guilty, like that's a very, very clear feeling. How about like if you thought about like the fact that we're in the city centre, there's so many places here that do like vegan burgers, vegan pizzas, whatever it is, like there's a vegan option where it's basically guilt free. Like no animal is getting shot, gassed, electrocuted, stabbed, cut into pieces. And where I'm coming from is, if you had the option to buy something that didn't involve like unnecessary tremendous suffering, why wouldn't you like do that? Like what's the reason why we don't do that? What would you say?
well,
Have you ever thought about like when you're eating, have you ever thought about that was an animal, or that maybe an animal died and suffered? Have you ever thought about that before?
Yeah, because I've seen it. I've seen all these videos about like the pigs in the slaughterhouses, and they torture them before they actually kill them. I think it's better if you're gonna do that, then you should just sort of like shoot it dead nearly, like just like
Quick and painless rather than torture.
suffer.
Yeah. The very nature of the industry, it involves. Thanks. Stick with me. You're the last remaining one, and I'll only keep you for 5 more minutes. Yeah, it is torture, but the thing is, the way they do it, it's like standard legal industry practice, and it's not separate from. The torture isn't separate from the procedure. So say pigs, for example, a lot of pigs will get their tails cut off and their teeth ripped out because they're confined in such conditions that they would otherwise... Are you okay? What's up? Don't worry. So what I'm saying is the very nature of how the industry works itself is it is like torturous almost, I'm trying to maintain my composure while you're nearly laughing. You got a big audience here. So let me think. I feel like we're on a similar wavelength. You guys obviously know of the inherent. You can't separate the violence from the slaughter. Yeah. So the act of slaughter itself is violent. You agree that you've tried other foods and they're good and you like to taste them. You said some of them are better than the meat products. They make you feel a bit lighter and all the rest of it. And I think you both said you're sort of increasingly more aware of you were saying you're more aware of the violence in animal products, and you had said it makes you feel like kind of uncomfortable when you think about it. Yeah. Do you think that the very reality of the fact that you feel uncomfortable when you think about it, do you think that points to something a bit more that maybe we should think about? My point is yes, it's probably natural to want to turn away from something that maybe makes us feel uncomfortable, but how about the idea that if we actually faced the suffering that we paid for, that might give us the adequate motivation to ground us and say, look, I'm paying for this, the very least I can do is look at what animals are forced to endure because of me, and if it really, really upsets me, then maybe I should make a lifestyle change, because why would I? Where's the logic in knowingly continuing to pay for something that it doesn't make you feel comfortable with? Do you think that's a logical way to be?
Yeah.
You think it is logical to feel that discomfort and still continue?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I would rather not see animals get abused and killed just to feed people.
Yeah.
I'd rather eat non-meat foods that don't involve hurting animals.
Respect, man, respect.
Yeah.
I would rather not watch it, but I think if some people who are a bit nasty or a bit salty about it were to be a bit more aware of it, it'd be a bit like, somebody who hasn't experienced it hands-on or in first person can't really empathise over it, which is different. It'd be different if you worked in those slaughterhouses. Now you wouldn't want to be vegetarian working there. It wouldn't be the idea.
No.
I hear that a lot of people are. It puts them off.
Well, if that would be definitely one way to put it off. I mean, it's not a nice way to put it, but I have to say it's a little bit more civilised over here than it is over in other less developed countries where it's a bit.
The slaughter is civilised?
It's not as saying that. It's not like it's a good thing. But
I just mean, is there such a thing as civilised slaughter?
Not really. But as far as how bad it is goes, it's a little bit more organised over here than it is over in other countries where it's done on the streets, and they eat animals that we would count as pets, which I'm absolutely not for at all.
Yeah. No. So you're against the consumption of dogs and cats, that sort of thing. And do you think that that's worse than eating a chicken or a cow or a pig?
I would say it's all equally bad.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because to the animal, they don't care what species they are. They still have a preference to not be slaughtered.
Yeah.
You brought up empathy. Do you mind if we do a quick exercise, a 60-second exercise in empathy? I'll just show you a clip. It's not bloody. It's not violent. It's as I say, it's an exercise in empathy. So what it is, it's a short 1 minute clip, and it's basically an animal going to slaughter, and they're getting forced down the slaughter chute. Right. This is what happens when they come off the truck. You can see clearly this animal is still, and they don't want to proceed. Yeah.
They don't want to go on.
So what actually happens is some guy comes along with it's called an electric prod, and it has a live current, and he jabs the animal, forces them down the chute, And if you just watch, it's like 60 seconds long. You can see this animal
I just feel sorry for it. You know?
is backing off.
Look at it.
Yeah, you have to be pretty evil to do.
Just check this out. Check this out.
Oh God.
All right. You're saying you have to be evil to sort of work in these places.
Yeah, you would have to be.
When we buy animal products, we're paying for people. We're forcing people to work these jobs. You know. So one went in, right, and the other one has to wait as much as they don't want to. They can't go anywhere. And it's just showing you there. I really appreciate you doing this with me, by the way.
It's alright.
This animal, what way would you describe the behaviour of this animal?
Frightened. Yeah, frightened.
Yeah? Think they have a preference to be somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd rather be in peace.
They'd rather be what?
In peace, like not in
Rather
a
be in a
slaughterhouse,
field.
high in a field or something.
Yeah. Check this out, check this out. What do you think the animal's doing there?
Trying
Trying to get out of it.
yeah.
Yeah. And check this out. I know it's hard to watch.
It's not nice. It's not nice, but you know what? It happens, and sometimes you have to face up to the reality.
Yeah.
Does it have to happen?
Not really.
No.
I
Yeah.
do think something maybe should. I think, you know, maybe as I get older, I might actually go a bit more vegetarian. As well, it's more healthy for you as well.
Yeah.
So you're saving animals, but you're also saving yourself.
Check this out, check this out. So there you can see the cow clearly trying to turn around. It's just when people talk about health, I think that's completely trivial in the face of animal cruelty. Like,
Bad for their mental health.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it is healthier, but it's not the reason that you should do it. The reason you should do it is because there's billions of individuals who are being abused. So you see this animal then, they're terrified, they're scared, they don't want to be there. Someone comes along, forces them down a slaughter chute.
You kind of feel.
You feel bad for it.
Imagine if that was a dog,
I wouldn't say.
you know? It would be behaving the exact same.
People also think cats are not as should be treated. I think every animal, regardless of shape, size, whatever, should be treated the exact same. And I think that's when maybe the slaughtering should maybe be gone. You know.
Yeah. Check this last bit out. So they've been down under the chute, and you'll hear the gun that they used to shoot them. And that's them shot in the head, right? They're shot in the head, they fall, they roll over, someone shackles their leg upside down, and then they slice their throat open.
It's not nice.
So thanks very much for watching that. I know it is hard to watch.
Something you have to.
It's something you have to sort
It
of.
happens in the world. You can't deny. You have to sometimes. As much as it's not nice, you have to look at what actually happens. You know, you can't just look at
You
it.
have to live in the real world. You can't bury.
You can't sort of hide behind it, you know, and look at it with, you know, rosy eyes. You know, you need to look at it the harsh way sometimes, which is sometimes the best way. And I think, I do think something needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know, to.
I agree, and I have a solution. The thing that needs to be done is going vegan, right? And I'll tell you why. Because this industry is like any other industry. Supply and demand. Customers supply businesses with money to the business that spells out, oh, there's a demand.
Yeah.
What do you think happens then when customers start supplying more plant-based and vegan businesses with money? What happens to the demand for animal products? Does it go up or down?
Go down.
It'll go down. The people that produce animal products then, they'll notice a shift in the market. What do you think they're more likely to do then?
Create more vegan products instead of slaughtering animals.
Exactly, man. So that is how we change the world.
Yeah.
Like, we be conscious about the suffering that we're paying for. We make more compassionate choices. We buy vegan. And eventually, over time, like, I know that I'm just one person having a conversation with you two guys. And from this conversation, the world isn't going to go vegan. But there's a lot...
Help it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. One person does make a difference. Like,
I'd say not, as you said, not many people are aware of what they're eating. Like, it's usually just like unconscious, like they don't really notice it. And I feel like putting vegan things into a menu would, you know, help people like realise that what they're doing is pretty much wrong. Like they're you know, eating things like it's someone's mother, like some calf's mother.
Exactly, man,
it's wrong.
That's completely what it is, because we give animals that we breed and kill for food. We say that they're livestock, you know, stock, like they're these inanimate objects. But you actually said mother, which is more accurate to the reality, because they have their babies and they are individuals. You know, they're parents as well in that sense to their kids.
My mum, you know, hung upside down, your throat slit. It's a bit wrong.
This guy completely gets it. You have like a vegan state of mind already. But yeah, man, like that's the beautiful thing. I seen a speech and I pretty much went vegan overnight. It was so powerful, and it was all sort of what you're saying. It got me to connect with the animal on a level where they weren't just food. They were like individuals with preferences to avoid suffering. You know, what about you? Like when you're eating animal products, you ever think about that? Like I was quite unconscious personally.
It's like, well, yeah, I'm kind of the same because I don't. It's essentially if I were to get like a burger or whatever, it's like I wouldn't really think about it that much. But it is wrong that it's like it's animals essentially like without their like they're going against their will and then just being killed and then being made into products for humans to eat and all that. Yeah,
like people try and say where I'm coming from is animals can't give consent, you know. And if they could, do you think that they would?
No.
Of course not. So they wouldn't, but yet we force them to die because of like taste pleasure or whatever. It's quite immoral. I feel like it's really morally wrong. But I mean, I feel like the work is already done. You guys don't really. Sometimes people present counter arguments in favor of animal abuse, but you guys seem sort of like you get it. And you agree with me?
Well, you wouldn't really. It's like if an animal's being abused, you know, you don't really take too much. Like some people wouldn't think about it too much, but it's like if it was their own family, there was someone that they knew, they would be instantly on it. They'd be trying to do something about it. But it's like people don't really think of animals as much. They just think of them as either companions or you eat them.
Because like I mean, that you go in somewhere and you see a picture of a burger. Nothing about that image says that was a cow who was maybe a mother who drew breath from the same source as me, you know, who bleeds the same blood as I do. So it's you're like aware, me and you, like, you know, we can't deny that our behaviours and our beliefs and what we consume and everything isn't separate from the influence of the society around us. Everywhere you go, there's, you know, animal products on billboards, there's fast food everywhere, it's on the TV, on the radio, special offers, get this, blah blah blah. So we're conditioned to like gravitate towards that. When was the last time you turned on the TV and seen an advertisement for a vegan burger, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, yeah,
never seen one.
No.
You know what I mean? So it is slowly going that way. But the dominant narrative is definitely animal products, and the emphasis on how juicy and tasty and all this. So if I leave you chaps with a information card, that's all it was for me. Like as I say, used to eat animal products every day of my life. Seen this speech. These are great resources. I've watched them all personally. But the best speech you will ever hear. It's a free speech on YouTube. And after I watched that, I was like, this is so logical, and I can't argue with anything this guy says, so it doesn't make sense for me anymore to continue abusing animals now that I know there's alternatives. It's in America, and at the end he talks about all these vegan versions of these typical products that come from animals that we eat, but nowadays pretty much everything in that video you can get here that's vegan as well. And I mean, have you any questions about veganism, or has your perception of vegans changed since this conversation? Because I know a lot of people have skewed perspectives on vegans and all that. You were sort of saying they torture them and it would be better if they did it quicker and painless. You think that would be a better alternative to the torture? But what if there was option 3 where we just didn't abuse and torture animals at all? What would you think that would be better?
Yeah, I think it would be better, but I don't really know what to say. I don't really know how to say it.
Yeah, I know it is a difficult question. I don't know what comes to mind when you think of the word vegan or veganism, but that's basically, you know, all vegans stand for. We just don't want animals to be abused, and we don't want them to suffer for something like a burger that you eat, takes 2 minutes and you forget about it. But like, we robbed them of their entire life and they suffered greatly for something that's just a taste pleasure. That you could just buy something else that's like vegan and animals aren't suffering, you know. So I guess like I'll not keep you because I know you feel a bit uncomfortable. But if I give you like a card. I used to be a meat eater, I used to eat animal products, but I watched this speech and it changed my mind. And no matter what all my friends thought, you know, I went vegan and I was like, I don't care. Like, this is wrong. We're causing so many animals so much harm. And if I could just buy and eat something else, like, why wouldn't I? Have you got any thoughts on the idea of going vegan for those reasons, to reduce suffering and things?
No, not really, to be honest. Like, I think it's better if you're gonna kill an animal though. It's better to have like to have it naturally instead of like torture it and like through until it's like
a natural death.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, well, the way I get it, like a natural death is dying of old age. So that doesn't happen in the industry. A lot of animals are killed in their infancy stages. Chickens are like 6 weeks, pigs are 6 months, and cows are like 4 years, and they can all live a lot longer. So none of them get natural deaths. They all get forced executions, basically. So I'll let you get on, but if I give you a little card, I've seen all these and they're all great resources. Do you think you would watch something if I gave you a card?
Yeah.
Like, the more you know, the bigger your perspective is, the more understand you have of things. So it's free information. I just watched this speech on YouTube and it changed my mind, and I don't abuse and pay for the torture of animals anymore, and it's a good feeling to not do that. So I'd encourage you to just maybe, I'm not saying like you watch it and you'll decide that you're going to go vegan, but at least you'll have more information than the rest of the people. And if you stand for something, let it be that you don't stand for animal abuse, Thanks very much for your time anyway, and happy Halloween. Cheers. Just like to mention as well, it's not just about meat, right? So you might not know, in the dairy industry, all the dairy cows are slaughtered after their production drops. Their calves, the male calves, 99.9% of them are slaughtered at birth. Any idea why?
I know, I don't have a clue.
Got everything out of them.
Well, they're males, so it's only the females that produce milk. So they can't make money off the males.
So they just slaughter them.
Yeah, in the UK alone, in 1 year, 100,000 baby male calves are shot at birth.
I don't think.
And that's a byproduct of milk, dairy products.
I think the dairy needs to change. The males should be let go and just in the fields eating grass. I think that's what they need to do.
I mean, it sounds so good, but the reason it won't happen is because that costs money to feed them and vet bills, and they're never going to do it on compassionate grounds because they're in a business to make money. So it's never going to happen. The only way it'll not happen is if enough of us go vegan and the industry notices a shift in demand and they stop breeding animals, full stop. Another side note is the egg industry. It's similar to the dairy industry. The male chicks, they don't lay eggs. On their first day of life, they grind them, they suffocate them, or they drown them, and that's standard UK, legal, worldwide in fact, practice. Leather, it's wearing the skin of animals. Fur, all that. Products tested on animals. You had said about the circus, all that, using animals for labour. So there's so many ways that we exploit and abuse animals in the name of like gain for human beings, when there's like a more ethical alternative. So I mean, you'd said, and I appreciate that I am sort of probing a bit, and I might feel a little uncomfortable. So
It's a really good skill to have.
yeah, I mean, we have to turn towards things that make us uncomfortable and question why that may be. So where I'm going with this is like, what do you think you can do? Because you'd sort of said, like, as I get older, say to the animal that is in a slaughterhouse right now, like, they can't afford to wait, really. So like, why wait and delay doing the right thing when you could simply, today?
I mean, going off sometimes going off something's not as easy. It's like if you're something smoking, you need to sort of build it down and start to get it off.
That is a chemical addiction, though. Some people do consider animal products to be addictive, though.
Some people who are mad about meat and all, and I won't lie, I do like it, but not as much as I did when I was younger.
By the way, I used to eat meat. I used to eat animal products and animals. I've been vegan a couple of years now, so I relate to exactly what you're saying. That's exactly how I felt. I still will tell you now that meat tastes good, animal products taste good. But the good news is, like, there's so many vegan options.
Sometimes vegan food's nicer.
Sometimes what?
Sometimes vegan food's nicer than meat.
Yeah, 100%. And it obviously has that.
A little bit better eating it,
Yeah, it obviously has that compassionate bonus. Oh, no one was forced to die in a slaughterhouse for me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the question is, like, what do you think you can do?
The boycott animal products, don't buy them, because if you don't buy them, then they might not get made anymore. They'll be made in reduced numbers.
This guy gets it. What do you think?
I think the easiest way is get off animal foods, any animal product, but it does take a while, and it's not as it can take a while, to figure it out, but it's something definitely to consider. Right now, maybe not as much, but it would be definitely something to consider in the future.
So you might think different. I get where your line of thinking is going, but what I realise in myself is I probably would have had similar trains of thought to you, but now as like an animal rights activist, I think completely differently. So when you say the likes of maybe not just yet, I mean, you'll probably not think about it this way, but to me in my head, what I hear is like a person saying, you know what, at present, I'm actually still okay with causing unnecessary suffering to innocent animals. What do you think about it when you hear it like that?
It sounds a bit different, and it maybe needs to happen a bit more sudden now.
Do you think that's more accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Would it be okay if I left you with an information card? Because that's all we do. We have conversations with people.
Good idea.
And you know, if they're
Apparently brave going out in the streets of Belfast.
yeah, man. Let me see. Yeah. So I've seen all of these. They're all good resources. The one I seen first though was the top one. It's called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear, and it did change my mind. I went from a meat eater to an overnight vegan, and then I got into activism. So you know, you're saying that you feel like maybe a bit more of a sudden change is good. I promise you that if you watch that speech, that will give you like a real motivation to want to do something about it, like soon. There's stuff there about the environment, there's stuff there about health, and they're a nice bonus, but they're not the reason that you should be doing it. There's innocent creatures who are at our mercy, and we're inflicting unnecessary violence and death on them. It's 2020, you know, as we...
Change, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And as we started this conversation, we were talking about horror movies, and we get a kick out of that, and the thrill is good. I love Halloween movies and stuff, but the fact is, it's really, I mean, humans are suffering. We're all going through different stages of suffering. The animals are getting slaughtered in their trillions. Literally in a year, the numbers are trillions. And every single second.
One thing they can do is make the numbers go down quite quickly.
That's one thing you can do, brother.
Yeah.
And yourself, you know, I mean, when you know better, you should do better. Do you agree?
Yeah. I agree.
So all I can do is chat to people and let them know.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Spread the word, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Have you any sort of closing line or? No, that's.
I take it your YouTube channel is called that?
See, my YouTube channel is called. You could probably cut this now. I think we got the job done.
My sister is vegan. She's I don't know how long she's been doing it for, but she's been doing it for a while.
That's amazing.
And you know, it's
You know why she became vegan?
animals. She loves animals.
It's the only reason to go vegan.
She can't stand seeing animals being hurt. So, you know, I kind of got some of this from her. Like, I would usually talk to her about these things, and usually she'd inform me like, "Oh, these animals are being slaughtered." And I, you know, after realizing, you do feel guilty.
That's a healthy sort of sign. That's a healthy reaction to have in the face of unnecessary suffering of innocent victims. You know, I'd be more concerned when someone's like, "That doesn't bother me." It's like, I feel sorry for that person. They must have experienced some sort of trauma to not have a healthy emotional reaction like that. So I would say, like, that guilt, sit with that, and like, it's there for a reason. It's trying to tell you something. If it doesn't feel right, man. See, when I went vegan, that guilt was like undone. I don't feel guilty anymore because I'm not funding it anymore. I'm not a paying customer, and like for 23 years of my life, I guess I was, and now I'm trying to do activism to like make up for the suffering. Can't change the past, but you know, we can change the future by consciously and deliberately making better choices that don't harm innocent creatures who have done nothing wrong, you know. So yeah, man, the best thing you could do, I guess, check that out, and if it resonates with you, you don't have to continue eating animal products in 2020, you know. It's the veganism is really the future, I strongly believe. And thanks for a great interview. These are good interviews. Have a nice day anyway. What's your names?
I'm Adam.
Adam.
I'm James.
James. Thomas, thank you so much.